Goes to clubs, meets a guy at a club. Guy at the club says, my name is von Habsburg-Lothringen. I'm the Crown Prince of Austria. Introduces him to somebody who wants him to manage money. Before long, Santoro was arrested for money laundering. He never took any money. He never laundered any money. He's charged for the intent. But we don't know who the heck this guy is. I got hired. My specialty is missing persons and tracking people down. I got hired to find out who in the world this prince is. And I find out that he's the former Joseph Myers from Detroit. I find out he's got a long history of frauds and drug crimes and violent stuff. I found out that he's living in New York, in Soho, with a woman and 2 kids without having divorced his wife and 3 kids in Detroit who he abandoned. I find out all sorts of bad things about him. And I start going around interviewing all the potential witnesses I identify. And everybody talks to me. And everybody gives me more information and more information and more information. His father gives me information. His brother gives me information. His mother gives me information. Eventually, I go and I interview his in-laws. And his in-laws freak out. And his in-laws say, you know, we have to do something about this. You've told us that he's got another wife. We thought our daughter was his wife. You've told us he's a convicted felon. We thought he was the Crown Prince of Austria. And by the way, that's not a joke. His own ex-wife, his own current wife, his in-laws, all thought he was really this Austrian member of royalty. It's amazing. The family complains to the daughter complains to the prince complains to the FBI comes and picks me up. Not very nice. I did my job, I did it within the law. Ultimately, as you all know, I was released pretty quickly. In fact, I was about to go to China on a job, and the judge said, give him back his passport. He's not going to be a fugitive in China, is he? And the prosecutor went, no, Your Honor, he won't be a fugitive in China. That's what happened. Why do I put this up here? First of all, for informational purposes. If you all want to know why it took you 2 years to hear this talk, unless you're one of the lucky few that went to Stevens Institute, that's why. But that's not why I put this up. The main reason I put this up, guys, when I give this talk, I like to say, I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm going to tell you what to think about. This is the exception. I'm going to tell you what to think. There's a reason that in this country we have a right to bear arms. It's because 200 years ago, power came out of the barrel of a gun, to quote a guy I don't normally quote. And the government understood if we're going to be a free people, there has to be a counterbalance between the citizenry and the government. Guns are not that powerful anymore. Information is powerful. If I, as an investigator, didn't have access to the information which would have gotten me this guy's true identity and true information and helped me help Albert Santoro would have been railroaded. And let me tell you that, in fact, the government is trying to close down, in ways you can't even conceive, FOIA, access to information, access to private databases. It is a tidal wave of information being removed. I mean, some of it is really ridiculous. Richard Nixon in 1971 gave a speech, a public speech on television, talking about how many ICBMs Russia has. 4 years ago, that information was reclassified. This is the honest-to-God truth. Why, how, I don't know, I don't get it. I'm proud to say I don't understand how the government thinks. It's a shame what happened with the FBI. I mean, these people were considered by me to be my colleagues before this happened. Not so much now. The one thing, the reason that I come back here for every convention, and the reason that I feel comfortable as an investigator speaking to you guys, not the sort of crowd that I would normally lecture to, is because you and I share a common interest in keeping information open, keeping information free, fighting government effects to close information. You know, this is the name of the game these days. You've got to be alert. You've got to be vigilant. And you've got to look at what I've spoken about today and say, how does this affect me? What should we do? Now, I guarantee you that there is in this audience, this is not a spot the Fed contest, because I'm pretty sure I know who they are, and they're very, very close to the stage. I guarantee you, and I'm not going to point them out because they are my colleagues, even though they are terribly misguided colleagues. There are federal law enforcement officers here today monitoring the speech who are going to report back and say, Steve Rambam put this up there. In your memo, please remember to write, I only put up there what's in the open public court file. Gentlemen. I will also tell you that the FBI made a complaint about me to the New York State licensing authorities Friday morning, I assume to try to prevent me from giving this speech. You know what? I don't tap dance in a minefield. I stay within the law. I do what I'm allowed to do. 99.999% of the time, I think I make the world a better place. So tough. One last thing. One very last thing. And this is from the Payback as a Bitch department. Remember that wife that I told you about that he abandoned 13 years ago? No child support. Wife didn't know where to find him, to sue him, none of that. I'm a public-spirited guy. I turned that information over to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office in Michigan. There's now a bench warrant out for him. Sometime next week, I will be going, unless I'm locked up as I leave here. I will be going, I hope, with the New York NYPD warrant squad. We're waiting for this to be put into NCIC so anybody can act on it. And this guy in his Soho apartment will be pulled out by his hair. So there's a warrant out on him. He's a bad man. You'll notice there's no warrant out on me. So presumably either I'm not a bad man or they haven't figured it out yet. We are now going to have, yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes. I'm sorry I zipped past that. Is there a Reggie Montgomery in the house? We're way over time? Can we take 5 minutes, 10 minutes for Q&A? Yeah? No? Okay. Okay, guys, no monkey business. We're way over time. Q&A. Rick, you, me, and Reggie. Okay, now let me tell you, I have these little false credentials. Everyone gets one who asks a question. Rick is giving out copies of Geek Mafia, and the best question gets an Investigate Naked t-shirt. So please, don't waste time. Ask a good question.
I'll start with a quick question. You were talking about Google, and the guy in Florida, he had searched the bullet wound to the chest, the right side of his chest search. And the detective recovered that, you said from a cache. Did you mean, I just want to clarify, did you mean from a browser cache on the client side, on the suspect's computer?
I don't know the answer.
Server?
I don't know the answer. I know it was recovered from his computer.
Okay.
His computer was seized, it was recovered. They did, I don't even know who I'm talking to. It's like the voice of God talking to me. But
Steve, Steve, this is God.
No, thanks.
I know it was recovered. The guy's name is Justin Barber, so I'm sure with a minimal amount of investigation you can find it out. If I knew who you were, I'd give you a little private detective badge. Here you go. Yeah, me too. Next question. Catch. Oh well. Boy, that was a girly throw.
I work for a school district in Kansas, and I'm just actually transferring school districts. I was looking at the website, and they are, I guess you could say, pimping out this I guess it's like an Amber Alert flash drive that they can give the parents to put all their child's information on that's needed for the Amber Alert.
That's an awesome idea.
And I think it's good too, but if you lose that.
You mean like the photo and the date of birth and stuff like that?
Everything that's
it's a great idea.
And then they're also in Kansas City doing a tracking bracelet, like the orange ones they do, but they're like little white ones for
Come on, guys,
Alzheimer's
jump in.
patients.
Help me out here. Oh, by the way, this is
This is illegal. You can't have a badge that says you're a private investigator in New Jersey.
You can if it's in Melverton. You planning to wear this?
Sure, this one?
This, by the way, is Reggie Montgomery. He's a licensed private investigator, very close colleague of mine, one of the best polygraph guys in the country. I like to say he's the second best investigator in the New York City area. No, he's a phenomenal investigator, and anything, they're over there. Anything that I can't answer, Reggie and Rick can.
And what do you think about doing that tracking for the Alzheimer's patients? I mean, they
have Alzheimer's. They're not going to know.
Well, it's just the whole privacy thing. I know
I'm
it's
really
for
sorry.
safety and all that, so
I'm really sorry for saying
thought.
that, and I do think it's a good idea. I mean, look, the privacy rights that are appropriate for you and me, for in my case, a partially competent adult, shouldn't apply to an Alzheimer's patient or a kid.
What would you say is the importance of an online presence? Because originally I thought that it's really important to have some presence online so that somebody doesn't pretend that they're you. So,
Rick, this is a question for you.
Hello? Oh, wow. Yeah. I guess so. I think just go with it. I think the point is just be aware of. My takeaway from my experience and my takeaway from even the first time I saw Steve's talk is that I think it is important and useful. The example you cited is a good one. To have an online presence, just be smart about it. Be aware. Just go into it. And this is how I live now every moment of my life. I just assume that somebody's going to find out what I'm doing.
but say, how do you get off of particular lists and stuff like that that's already been tracked?
You don't get off the list. If he asks how do you get off the list, I don't think you do get off the lists. You're on the data doesn't get erased, and so you just kind of live with it. And that's kind of the crappy world we live in now, but that's my opinion.
One of the things everybody should know is that anything you do, any kind of communication you have, whether it's on the net, on a phone, on a cell phone, or unless you're writing down a tablet and showing him, you have to assume that everybody in the world can find this out and know.
But even if it's encrypted?
Well,
then who's going to get it?
It has to be decrypted at some point for somebody to read it.
That's very true.
So if you're sending encrypted files to yourself, you might be okay.
All right, you have your choice here of a badge or a book.
You can have the badge and a book.
Yeah?
The badge was 25 cents, Steve. Come on.
Less.
Sorry, 20 cents.
Less. I got these on eBay. I got a bag.
One question is
Badges?
Go ahead.
more buildings these days are asking for your ID, and they scan it and have all the information right there. So how do you, I guess, what's an alternative way to get in buildings without giving your driver's license and all the information?
I think he asked how ways to avoid having, like a bar that makes you swipe your card. Is there any way to avoid that?
Stop drinking.
Stop drinking.
Well, just normal buildings do that. Normal
What?
office-
Passport, that's a good one.
No.
No? They're going to start running them. It's a good one for the next 6 months or whatever.
There's normal
The
office
truth
buildings
is,
that carry
it's
this.
it's a private place
you
of
on your
business. If they say you have to hop 5 times on your left foot to get in, they can say that. Yeah, not real good. That's a crime now.
Yeah, so quick one.
Hello? Yeah, it is.
Right, thanks. So a lot of scary stuff, great talk, I appreciate it. I've been thinking about this for a bit and have really been thinking that it's the asymmetrical control of this data that matters most. So quick two-parter. How do you think these dynamics change if you start tracking all of this information?